Let's get back to listener questions. We have Rachel Minneapolis who said, I'm not planning on flipping, but everybody tells me, everybody I listen to tells me to find deals. Even if I plan to hold, essentially buy and hold real estate, if I ever plan to buy and hold real estate, should I seek great deals, and how do I do that?
Well, listen, great deals. I've been a big believer of a great deal is buying an excellent house in an in-demand school district in a great market. And I don't care about getting it undervalued, okay? And I may be, for people who talk about real estate investing, that's a rare point of view. For people who do the largest volume real estate investing, that's exactly what they do. I mean, our clients are all institutional investors, and they deploy billions of dollars. And if you want to deploy billions of dollars, you can't try to find steals every day. They're just trying to find a good deal, right? And again, I define it as I want to find the right market. And then within that market, I want to buy something that's going to be in demand. And sometimes somebody who's trying to find a great deal, I've seen a lot of people go wrong because they find the wrong house for a great price. So they buy the wrong house and they wind up suffering. It doesn't wind up going as well. They can't keep the place occupied as consistently because it isn't that great of a house. And here's a little secret about renters. They want the exact same thing as home buyers. They want a nice house on a good piece of property in a safe neighborhood in a good school district if they have kids.
Right.
And so if you own one of those, it'll always be occupied. So I've seen people buy a lousy house in a lousy location because they're going to get it cheap and they get blinded by it. So my best answer is what I said in the previous segment, which is if you could find a house that has all those attributes, good place, good schools, in demand, but it's in bad condition, you can get a great deal because there's a discount associated with having to go and take the risk of doing the work to fix something up. I don't think you should break your back trying to find somebody who doesn't know what their house is worth. The world is very transparent. Everybody knows they can go on Zillow. Everyone knows they can call any real estate agent in town and get an accurate valuation of their property. It's not like it's 1975 anymore where people are going to be ignorant as to the value of their property. So you're not going to find much of that. And as I said previously, if you do spend all your time trying to find people that are ignorant as to the value of their property, chances are they're in dire straits, and you should try to help somebody in that situation. If they find us, if you're somebody who's trying to find somebody who's really in trouble and take advantage of it, I'm hoping that we find them first. Because if we find them first, we're going to tell them what their house is actually worth, and we're going to try to find somebody to buy it for what it's actually worth so that that person walks away. I mean, if somebody who's in dire financial straits gets $5,000 or $10,000 more for the house than what they would have if they got ripped off by a flipper, that's a life-changing thing.
Totally.
And I'd rather be in the business of helping people get out of that pickle and buy a good house for a fair price and then rent it out for market rents and accumulate it. So the other question that I'd have for Rachel, if she was on the line with us, she's asking, should she seek a great deal? My question is, how much time does she have to do that? If she does have the time to drive neighborhoods after finding the neighborhoods, the school districts, the markets that she wants to be in, if she can drive those neighborhoods and find a house that nobody seems to live in, that has a lawn that's growing too high, that has a roof with problems or a lousy paint job, she may be finding something that she could get in touch with that owner. You can look that address up in the public record. You can find the name of the owner and the address of the owner if they don't get their mail there. You can try to find their telephone number. There's detective work that we do every day to try to find the names and make contact to the owners of properties to see if they want to sell. So if you find something that's sitting there languishing, you may be the phone call they're looking for to say, hey, I'm interested in buying your property. I can close quickly. I have cash to close quickly. And it's kind of, it's kind of like, it's like, you ever trade your car in, Abhi? Instead of selling it like on Craigslist, you trade it in?
Yeah, for sure.
Right? You get a little bit of a lower price. You know you're getting a lower price, but it's so convenient to just bring it in and drop it off and be done.
Yep.
There are people, if you catch them right, there are people who own houses. They live in California. The house is in Georgia. They inherited it from their grandmother. They haven't been there in years. And a phone call comes in saying, I want to buy the house. They're like, great. They look it up on Zillow. They see it's worth $200,000. You offer them $180,000. They say, I'll take it.
Yep.
You're going to send me $180,000 for the house grandma left me? I'll take it. I want to be done. I don't want to deal with listing it. I don't want to deal with fixing it up.
Yep.
So that kind of sweat equity can produce you an opportunity. But don't feel like you have to do that. If you've got a full-time gig, if you've got a family that you're raising, Rachel, if you've got a lot of work that keeps you busy and you want to buy it the easy way, don't be embarrassed to do it the easy way. I do it the easy way. I pay market price for great properties in great places, and I'm not ashamed of that.
Because you have a long-term perspective, right? That's the entire kicker here. If you did not have a long-term perspective and you thought, well, geez, I'm just going to offload this property in 6 months, then you'd revisit that. But everything that we're talking about on today's show is having a long-term view on building wealth. Okay, wealth isn't built by buying and selling, buying and selling, buying and selling, because at the end of the day, you end up with zero net assets. You might end up with a whole lot of cash, and then you'll be part of that crowd that's cash-heavy, asset-poor right now, because you're not translating that into income-producing assets, which you need to sustain yourself. Let's say, worst case, if there's a little bit of a correction, right? So that's really important and something that we should always be considering.
Well, that's the key. You know, I'll give you a great example of how what I'm saying is not naive. It's actually the right way to be doing this. If you pick the right market, the house you buy is going to be worth 5% more a year later.
Yep.
So I don't have to find a house that I'm going to buy for 15% below market value. I can pay market value, and it's going to be worth 15% more in 3 years. And 3 years is around the corner to me. That's why the long-term mindset plays well with this, because I know, like, if I jump in, I mean, what was the market we talked about via email before, that place in Georgia that you just recently discovered?
Yes. We have maybe another few minutes. We can get into that as well. Commerce, Georgia. Let me see if I can pull up some of this information. Commerce, Georgia has, I think, Toyota that's come into it. They're investing a good amount of capital. Yep, that's right.
They're
Southeast
$350 million. $350 million investing in a factory. It's what looks like it's probably an hour to 2 hours outside of Atlanta.
No, actually, correction, $90 million in a 350,000 square foot campus. That's Jackson County. Yep, that's where you got the. And across the street from where it currently processes 140,000 vehicles annually. So this is just a Toyota distributor that's building a new processing facility in Commerce. So let's talk about Commerce.
So watch this. So here's what's going on in Commerce. Commerce is price appreciation over the last 20 years, which is what we focus on as the first starting point of analysis. The market has been very steady. It had not too much of a crazy run during the boom times, so not too bad of a hangover during the correction. And it's been coming back, and the appreciation curve is steeper over the last 4 years than it was, 10 years prior. The average appreciation per year going back 20 years is 2.78 compared to a national average of 3.44. But here's the kicker. When they're adding all those jobs, did they quote how many jobs they're adding in that market?
I am looking actually for
It's going to be a lot. Whatever you'll find, if they quote it in there, they're going to be adding hundreds of jobs.
Yeah.
When they add hundreds
100%.
of jobs, they're moving people in. If you buy a good single-family home in that market, that just by virtue of that one article, this begins to look like a winner to me. Why? Because anything in the Southeast U.S. is sucking jobs from the Northeast. It's sucking population from the Northeast. So Atlanta is an example. Charlotte's an example of cities that have been made on that massive migration down. So now you've got a market called Commerce, which I think is a great name, by the way. Good karma there. I think you're going to see a market like that just because of the increase in jobs. You're going to be able to charge $30 or $40 a month more in rents than what it would have rented for yesterday, because there's going to be more demand. You're going to probably see that appreciation curve bump up a little bit. Okay, and so that's where you're buying a house in a place that's about to get extra liftoff because of an employer making a decision to go in there and add jobs. That's the kind of thing that allows you to say, I'm going to redefine what a great deal is. Instead of a great deal being a wickedly good price on a property, I'm going to buy a house, a good one, in a market that I know is getting lift because of macroeconomic trends, and I'm going to win because of that. Because Toyota's not going in and doing this for 2 years. They're going in and they're going to be there for 90. All right, so they're going to elevate the entire town, and this is the kind of thing where somebody can go in and take a position in a town like that and be among the only people that do.
You know what? I like that advice, and quite frankly, I'm going to start taking a look at Commerce, Georgia, if nobody else does. Take a look at Southeast Toyota Distributors. They have a really good track record. They're headquartered out of Florida, and quite frankly, I think it's a winner.